Okay, by now you've probably got some questions about the var sheet build up. So let me just answer them real quick. And one thing you might do is make a copy, right, that you can paste, and that becomes sort of a backup. You can always create backups, right? Don't mix and match them though. You know, if you do create backups, maybe you put it in an archive folder or something like that. And that way you can just kind of like once in a while, you know, override it or save variations of it or something. Save versions like version 1, version 2, whatever, and you can deal with it separately. Whatever index.html, you know, whatever kind of vars you have on the page have to be in the var sheet. Okay, if you have a var1 on that HTML page, it needs to be in the var sheet, right? If you have a var2, it needs to be in the var sheet, and vice versa. If you have a var 87, it needs to be on your index.html page, your HTML page, okay, whatever you call it. Index. It doesn't need to be indexes, doesn't need to be vars. As long as you have an index file, something.html, and you have a CSV file, something.csv, doesn't matter what the names are, because in the MOWG Pro, we're just simply going to find those files and attach them, right? So all we're looking for is what they are. Where is our base HTML file and our base var sheet? By the way, why do we call it base HTML? Okay, I'll tell you why. Usually we don't call this index when we get this all done. It gets saved as an index, but we often rename it to base. Okay, here's why. This is not really meant to be the main page of the site anymore, so it should no longer be index.html. Index means main page, right? Main page in the folder. Okay, we don't want it to be the main page. We want it to be just a model page that we use to create pages with. So it's not, so even though it's a page, it's not meant to be a page. It's meant to be a template for pages. And why do we call it a template instead of a page? Because it has vars in it. This isn't really a page anymore. It's a template for pages, right? Ay, 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 ay. Before you look around, could you take... Bоже mой. All right. So, having said that, we often call the HTML file a model page, right? Simply because we're going to model a bunch of pages after it. We often rename them to base when we're ready or when we have the right version. By the way, these guys are all plumbers. And they're all in the same area. So can I actually copy my var sheet? You know, yeah, I copy that and my checklist is what I would do, right? Copy. Heck, maybe even with the archive. Although you could have an archive of your HTML file. So you could create a copy of that, paste it, and then just stick it in there. And that way, you know, you've got archives of the jobs you're doing so far, you know. And you don't really need to create, you know, them with weird names. Just every once in a while, save your work. So what should that mean? Just save your work. Just copy this thing, you know, put it in here and paste it. Boom. Okay. Remember not to work inside the archive. You can get lost. Maybe delete this just so you remember that you're in the archive, you know, so it looks different to you. Okay. But there you go. That's the model page. That's the var sheet. They work together. Whatever vars are on one or on the other, right? That's the idea. Can I copy this thing or even both of these things and take it, take it to the next project? Yeah, absolutely. I can take them right here and paste them, and therefore I can start working on the match. I know I have vars 1, 2, 3, and 4, so I'm going to see if I can put in vars 1, 2, 3, and 4. By the way, if you're not using Dreamweaver, you can do this in Notepad. It's just not as easy to see, right? You have to be more discerning. You have to compare the page to the print and think it through. So it's kind of more of a pain, but it's okay. And in Dreamweaver, of course, these pages look really funny. That doesn't mean anything. You don't need to worry about it. It's just, you know, their silly coding. And just work inside of it. You can generally figure out what you're doing. There will be a title tag in here. There should be, you know, at the top. I can put my cursor at the top, Control F, and and find title. Find next. There it is. There's a title tag, and it ends where the end title is. And then if I want to search for description, I'll put my cursor back at the top in case it comes first. I'll look for something like DESC. Sure enough, there it is, the meta tag for description. And the content is, it equals, right? It is, and this is the content. Until that closes, which is right there with the double quotes at the end, and then the closing tag. So that's the close, the closure for this meta tag. Okay, that's the whole thing right there. Always tags start with an opening caret and they end with a closing caret. That's how you know that that's a tag that belongs together. See, that's a stick. It belongs together. Here's a script that has an ending script and not much more to it. It just says the script source is here. Now that you know that, end it. So there's details like that, but there you go. That's how you understand the coding. So the only things we really care about are the title tag and the description tag. Usually we don't care about the keywords tag, meta keywords, because Google doesn't. But there is one cool advantage to meta keywords. Let's say I can use all the vars on here except for var 4, and I have no use for var 4. There's two ways I can deal with it. Either on this version of the var sheet, I'm going to take out the vars 4, so I don't have one, okay, because there's not going to be any need for one on the model page. Or if I want to make sure my var sheet can have all the vars for more than one project, okay, use it like a master var sheet for multiple projects, then all I have to do is come out with a way of including vars in here that'll be invisible to the eye and that Google just won't notice or care about. Where does that go? The same place Google doesn't look anymore, because Google really doesn't care what you do with it anymore. Watch this. Control F. Let's see if we can find keywords. No? Okay, there is no keyword tag, so I'm just going to create one. And the way you create a meta keywords tag, the easiest way, just copy. Hello, where is it? I'm going to find it here in a minute. There it is. All right, just copy the meta description tag, okay, from the opening caret to the closing caret. Just copy it, okay, and just stick it in here. It doesn't matter where it goes, before or after. You might even put some line breaks just to get so you can see what you're doing, okay. White space is white space, so don't worry about it. It's not an issue. As long as you don't cut into coding in the middle of it, you're fine. So here we go. The name is no longer descriptions, it's keywords. And the content equals, well, anything. Google, people have put so much stuff in here, Google basically ignores this, period. So you can put your var 4, in here. That way, you've satisfied the criteria of having this var on the page so that you can keep it on the var sheet as well. Okay. And there you go. So it's very often that people have multiple model sheets and multiple var sheets together in a single folder because they're working with stacks of them. People do that sometimes when they get more advanced. They're doing multiple jobs at the same time onto different websites. And if you feel like doing that, you can. But because of it, very often you'll create some vars in some places that just are not going to exist on the rest of the files. Okay. And so what you do is just on each HTML file, you put in the different assortment of non-applicable vars into a meta keyword tag. All right, and so they're out of your way. Can you comma separate and put in more? Heck yeah, you can put in a lot. So if I had like a var 99 that didn't fit here either, I could do like a comma, or even a space. Again, Google doesn't pay attention to this thing, var 99. And I could put something else, I could even run them up against each other. Because again, Google's not going to care. And they're there. They are satisfying the criteria. Just doesn't make much sense. May as well put commas in there so that, you at least know what you're doing. Just to be sensible. So if I had like a var 254, and you can use whatever you want for numbers. They don't have to be in any kind of order, okay? You can really do what you want. Now remember, if I do have these here, they have to be on my var sheet. And since they're not on my var sheet, I'm going to get rid of them. Okay. All right. So what would I do on this page? Kind of the same thing I did on the last page. I would find ways to get those vars into the print. I would add words, take words out, twist things around, whatever it takes. Welcome to Henry Smith Plumbing. Why don't we just say Henry Smith, let me see, South Bend. Choose, yeah, you could say anything. This could be var 1, right? And then it could be var 4, couldn't it? Except that if I get too many words, I'm going to word wrap like crazy, right? Right, residence, right? And if it word wraps or word wraps, if I really want to pull it out, I can do that. Watch this. I can make a var 1, then a var 4 by changing it to var 4. That's for city, state, plus clients or customers. That way I can get rid of this because it doesn't make sense to say client's residence or customer's residence, right? Ooh, var 2 though. I could have a var 2, or what is that? var 3 actually, isn't it? For the, yeah, residential or commercial clients or customers. So, and that was var 3, right? Yeah, of course. var 2 is the keyword. All right, so let me just do this one last time. I want to make this point. Control C. var 3. Now, what I want to say is this. That's a lot of words for a line. So you want it to word wrap in a sensible way. You know what I would do? I would put a break tag in the source code right up here for that spot. You can't put a break tag here. It's going to think that you're just doing, text. So it's going to convert it to some other coding to force it to be text. But we really want it to be a code, a break tag. So let's just do a BR inside double quote, or inside these, whatever, tags, right? A BR tag. By the way, a more modern BR tag is BR space /, right? And so it's the same thing. 99% of the time, it doesn't matter which you use. Google knows what it is. Google really doesn't care. If you want to get technical, it's an error to use the wrong kind, but who cares? Oh, by the way, yeah, I got rid of my colon. Let me put my colon back. There you go. See how nice it's going to read? Because each page is going to come out right. And guess who's going to read it first? The client, the guy we're doing the pages for. So now we've got a page that says Sturgis, Michigan, residential customers. Choose Henry Smith Plumbing and Heating, right? And that's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, so that's one of the first questions you'd have about Vars. All right, so yeah, think about it. Because this guy, Vars, he knows you are hand typing all those combinations out. And by the time you're not really going to count this to double your 1320. You're not going to say 1320 pages times 2, all because all you changed was the word customers or clients. It's ridiculous. Google sees right through that. That's silly. Don't try to make 2,680 pages because of that. Don't. Stick with 1320. That just adds a little extra nice variability in there, which is just cool. That's good. But it doesn't mean double your pages, so don't. Okay, having said that, do double your pages for residential versus commercial. Google fully comprehends that that's a different arena altogether. Do multiply all your cities times all your keywords times all your residential or commercial versions, right? Okay. Now, here's another question you're going to ask. What happens if I got like a var 3, var 4, but sometimes I want it to be proper case, sometimes I want it to be lowercase, sometimes I want it to be title case. What do I do about that? A couple of things. One is this. Use a copy of whatever it is that you need to worry about. Like, let's say this. Let's say just in this case, we don't want it to be var 3, var 4 because it's like lowercase, and we kind of want it lowercase for a lot of places on the page. Wherever it is we're using these things, very often is going to be lowercase. But what if you're at the beginning of a sentence and the first word was one of these? Or the first word was one of these? Or like in this case, you really would just like var 3, you would really like both of these to be proper cased, right? So that you can have, proper cases for these things. What do? The answer is you copy them, paste them, give them new names like var 5, var 6. And then guess what we have in the toolbar? We have format sheet. And so let's highlight whatever it is that we want to format. So just draw a square around it or choose a column, except watch out for the header. The header's got to be lowercase, but you can choose everything else. Click on the top, click on the top entry, for example, then just scroll to the bottom and shift click on the bottom to highlight the whole thing. Okay. So what can you do with that? Well, MOWG toolbar, format sheet, and we can change things. Look at this, all lowercase, all proper case, all uppercase, first only uppercase, first letter, right? So that's the difference between just the first letter being uppercase, no matter how many words there are, like at the beginning of a sentence, say, or all proper cases capitalize the first letter of every single word. So if I do that all proper case, bam, that's how it all comes out. Now, having done that, I can again shift select the whole thing, and I can make it all lowercase or whatever. It's just going to build on itself. Whatever was there before, it's going to take that and build on itself. You can even go all caps. Well, I don't want to go all caps. It's going to look cheesy, but I do want my 5 and 6 to be proper case, which happens in this case to be first uppercase too. But if you have more than one word, all proper case. Now, that's my 5 and 6. You know what that means? This is now going to be my 5 and 6. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Yep, you can use these vars in any combination anywhere on the HTML page. You can put them anywhere you want. Okay. And now that I did that, that's cool because I get my capitalization in there. And that's going to lead to one more question in just a second. If you're thinking about it, one more question is going to come to mind. But real quick, residential or, again, residential or commercial, their main page is saying all this stuff. But I want pages for each term. So I'm going to choose one of them. Literally, I'm going to get rid of this and put in a var. Okay. What is that? That's var 3, right? Yeah. And lowercase, var 3. There it is. Now you only need to insert the keywords a few times and the geo-targets a few times, okay? And as long as you have some emphasis, like you've repeated var 3 a few times, you've repeated, well, I don't know about var 3. Well, yeah, repeated var 3 a few times, repeated var 2 a few times, repeated var 1 a few times. When Google counts all the words on the pages and tries to figure out what it's mostly about, first thing it's going to realize is Henry Smith Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It sees that over and over again. Then also it's going to see that this is used over and over again too. And it's to try to say that they're, authorized. Okay, fine. It's going to see that they say thing about residential and commercial. Again, I would put my, var, whatever it is for that. var 3. Yep. Includes var 3. Oops. var 3. All right. One more point I want to make concerning this, because yeah, you can do this in every combination. Any vars you don't use, like say you never use var 4, you used var 6, you used var 5, you used var 3. Well, if you never use var 4, either take it out or again, stick var 4 in the meta keywords up at the top. Just add it to your long comma separated list of vars you are not using on this particular model page, right? That's how you make sure your match stays your match. Again, if you can't find it, Control F keywords, there it is. So just make sure it's in here, var 4, right? There you go. By the way, once you're done with this whole project, you can kill extra white space just so the page loads faster, right? You can just do that if you want. But while you're working on stuff, often it's easy just to take blocks, or when you're done with a thing, you're done with it, but then just make another block available, right? Just so you can see it more clearly. It's completely okay to do that, just so you know. White space is white space. You can separate everything out and go through it one step at a time. So separate out your title tag. That way you don't lose track of where it is. Stick it down here until you're done with it. And then you might say, okay, well, what about my meta description? Go find it. There it is, meta description. Again, you can separate it out. And if you know enough about headers, you know that you can put them together. Cut. Okay, you can absolutely just stick them next to each other inside the head section of the document anyway. So you can just have it like that. And then put white space after it, before it. And that way you'll easily see all of it in one spot. You won't have to go searching for it. It's right there. You can just, wrap everything else back in if you're not using it, right? There you go. See? Very easy to see this now and deal with it. Save all. Okay. To answer the next question that's going to come up. What the heck happens when you've got something like this and then something like that where you say, well, that's the lowercase and that's the uppercase. But say you don't want to mix and match them. Like what happens if you also need, or you feel you need, to use the geo-target again? Watch. Okay, let's just say Vars 7. Let's say I had a reason to use it more than once. Maybe this time I don't want the state. Okay, so like this, right? I'm going to get rid of all that. And then the same thing I'm going to do with MI, for Michigan. I'm going to get rid of all that too. All right, now I'm going to use vars in the pages. It's going to have one here, and then here's the next var. Also needs to be in the page. But here's the thing. If the system is kind of randomly choosing, which it will be until I teach you what to do next, then how do you deal with that? And I'll explain that in the next topic. That's opening the next topic, and it's a cool one. So I'll explain it in the next topic. All right, we're getting there.